Ladies and gentlemen, moving on with our sixth session, I'm very happy and delighted to invite our next speaker. He is, of course, the Chief Operating Officer, Systems Limited, and will be speaking on a subject relating to the future and how he sees the future will shape up before our eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Asif Akram.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Is this on? All right. Very good. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everybody. Nutshell, Martin Dow, Angro, thank you very much for this opportunity today. My name is Asif Akram, been a technology learner since about 25 years, if you're going to talk about age. Worked with PwC, IBM for many years. Okay, worked for PwC and IBM for many years, and now working for Systems Limited, which is the largest IT services company in Pakistan and a largest exporter. I think start is a bit controversial because we were still talking about Industry 4.0, and now we've suddenly moved into Industry 5.0, and the discussion is going to be interesting. It's not going to be holistic. There are going to be more questions that will come out after these 15 minutes than I can answer, or I will answer there because we don't have all the answers right now. And with the world changing the way it's changing, what I want to do today is connect to what's happening around in technology and then make a connection back to Pakistan. As I said, we are all technology learners. And there'll be few phrases that I will introduce today, which are going to be important for us to remember as we go forward into this journey. And there'll be question and answers after this session. As we continue to look at the industry, the revolutions have been coming back and forth. Let me see if I can. Oops. So a bit of history lesson here. We have started the fifth industrial revolution. We're also talking about the sixth industrial revolution already. But if you look at, it took hundreds of years to come from 1 to 2, exactly a century. The first revolution, if you remember, was called the steam engine or the train or whatever, that revolution. Then we went 100 years later into the second revolution, which was more around mass production, electricity, and brought a lot of new things to the world. Another about 100 years then took us to bring into the computers, to automation, but there was more a 100-year era, 3 revolutions. But if you look at the fourth and fifth, they're coming in half times. So the fourth industrial revolution started in 2000 when we talked widely about internet. We talked widely about connectivity, analytics, and we can argue that countries like Pakistan are still in the fourth revolution. We can argue that. But the fifth revolution is here already, and it's not changed much from fourth. It's a cusp that's happening, and it's an important point to understand because the fifth industrial revolution is about man and machine. As the previous speaker was talking about, the word AI will go away, and we're going to talk about man and machine more. That is, a human needs to work with the machine and customize the output for the enterprise or for the consumer or for the employee. And that's what the fifth industrial revolution is all about. And while we are in the fourth industrial revolution, the fifth has already started. So please be aware it started in Pakistan as well, and I'll give you some examples of it, of man and machine. We have over 180 million mobile subscribers. I know yesterday there was that discussion as well. And that's man and machine, mobile and man. We have digital commerce that has gone up exponentially, e-commerce. A latest study said about 20% of our population placed an online order in the last 12 months to buy something. Man and machine, again. I'm making my point about the industrial fifth revolution. Then we talk about another thing, which is banking. And we are seeing a huge increase, 40, 50% more people trusting in digital banks, because that's what the future will hold, and that's what we are all about right at this moment, man and machine. Manufacturing, we've increased, we've got IoTs, we've got analytics. I know some industries are behind, some industries are moving forward. Manufacturing has done a lot more work around man and machine as well. So the point is, as Pakistan, and not just global, we don't have a choice anymore from one industrial revolution to another. We already are there, and we will continue to move in that direction. So what does enterprise need to do? All right, I got this one. So Industry 5.0 is in my hand. I want to just focus on a few things. What, from Industry 5.0, moving to a digitally enabled enterprise or digitally connected enterprise, which many of you and all of us are part of right at this moment. And the key thing is, enterprises, may it be a bank, may it be a telco, may it be an industry, has to pivot, not transform, I'm using this word very carefully, is to pivot to address the disruption and the demand that is coming from its employees, from consumers, from customers, from its partners. So the enterprises only become digitally enabled and connected when they're able to pivot. And pivot around what? Another very important question that one has to answer. Pivot around, we used to call it people, process, technology. It's still about the same. It is about people, process, technology, or automation. But use a digital platform to do that. And that is what the new digitally enabled organization is going to be. And Pakistan has those organizations. Few, but we do have those organizations. And you all have examples of that I can name. I'm not going to talk about Netflix or Pfizer, Amazon or Google, or we have these organizations in Pakistan today. A word of caution, I'm going to keep this very positive, because I think we all have to start looking at the glass half full. Yes, there are lots of challenges. Third world countries will not go away from challenges. But unless we start seeing the glass half full, we are not going to move forward. First movers are going to be there. People have to follow, invest. And I'll tell you what to invest in as well. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is competitiveness. In any industry, manufacturing, banking, telco, retail, pharmaceutical, healthcare, to stay competitive, enterprises have to stop experimenting with digital. This is no longer a debate. Do we go technology? Do we go digital? But I want you as leaders to create a burning platform in your enterprise. Tell your boards, CEOs, CXOs, that we have a burning platform, that if we don't pivot today, we don't adopt digital ways of working, we're going to fall flat. No matter even if you're growing 80%, 100%, because I know we can all become complacent. Oh, 2021 was great, I grew 80%, or 22 was great, I'm going to grow 80%. But that's the mistake we will make. So as a technology student for many, many years, as a transformation student for many, many years, what I want digitally enabled and connected enterprises to do, and it's our responsibility, is to create this burning platform. Mr. Board, Mr. CEO, Mr. CXO, if we don't do this, which is automate this, take this on cloud, make this digital, and it's all available. I'm not talking gibberish or Chinese here. It's all available in Pakistan. We will have a survival problem in the next year. So I'd like each one of you to create this burning platform, even if you're growing. When the companies are not growing, they have problems, the burning platform does get created. But its key is when it's growing, how do you create that burning platform? If you look at Pakistan, I talked about retail, I talked about banks, I talked about telco. I can talk about many industries. Yes, education healthcare are still behind, and we have to do much more investment in that. But every other industry has a role model, from a digitally enabled and connected enterprise. I'll give you examples, and I can bet on it 90% of this example is correct. Your employee experience from the day that employee, he or she joins, to the day he exits, is a very bumpy experience. When I say bumpy, I'll tell you how. When they come in, we're not able to give them access to everything that they need. Access is asked one by one. All right, I need to access this, I need to access that. Imagine if you had a digitally connected dashboard for your employees when you're onboarding, based on their role task, you're able to give them all accesses on day one, get them the right tools on day one. How much productivity will you save? That's Industry 5.0. Similarly, when they exit, I can bet if you look through your databases or your employee records, you will have many formal employees who still have accesses within the organization. They may or may not be using it, but they may be there. Can you make sure that they exit on the day, exit your digital systems the day they exit? Those are burning platforms. Similarly, customers. Are you being customer-centric or not? Technology is there. So let's move forward with this discussion. And I'd like to, in the next minute, like to discuss 4 key exam questions. What do enterprises that have successfully made the transition from this to a digitally enabled organization have in common? How do enterprises get digitally enabled? What are the signs, and I'll talk about some of the signs that are there for your organization and for you to say, oh, I'm a digitally enabled organization, or what do I need to do to get there, and what do you think are the benefits? So I call them the 4 key exam questions, and there could be more. Maybe you would have asked that, but I like to answer that for us to look at organizations that have successfully transitioned into digitally enabled organizations. There are some key signs. One of the key signs is your organization customer-centric? And we all say we are customer-centric, and customer could be your customer of the customers, your customer could be an employee, but is it customer-centric? Are you listening to the customer? So what happened when COVID happened? Overnight, we had to go remote. Overnight. 23rd March in Pakistan, next day. If somebody had asked me a week before that, can all my workforce go remote? And I would say, no, people will not work. But many industries went remote. Did we pivot? Yes, we pivoted, but that was a force. That was an external event. But if that external event doesn't happen, are you still listening to your customers? Are you still listening to your employees? That's customer centricity. Second, are you calling out the dangers, and are you aware of the dangers that you can fall into if you don't pivot as an industry? Is that conversation happening? Not putting the food on the table today, but is that future conversation happening? And that's a second sign that it's happening at all the C levels, and it's happening at all the employee levels. That if we don't pivot, what's going to happen? So that's a big sense of customer centricity. Are you talking about the dangers? Then, are you really investing in the infrastructure of your organization? And if you're not, then that is not the sign to become a digitally enabled organization, to Industry 4.0 or 5.0. And infrastructure means putting whatever is needed from a bank to a telco to a retail to a pharma to a manufacturing. Fourth, are you data-driven? Data doesn't lie, we know that. That's a fact. Please. And it's very easy to say, but a lot of us go with the gut feeling, or somebody who has done it for many years. Become data-driven. If you are a data-driven organization, the first exam question starts to get answered. And if you're not, let's start talking about that. And finally, are you future-proof? And when I talk about future-proof, it's a very important phrase that I'm using right now. Future-proof is in all areas. Are you ready for the future? Are you investing in the right talent? Are you investing in the right infrastructure? Are you investing in the right security? I'm not touching security, cybersecurity, all of that. Those areas are there for existence. So the organizations who are customer-centric, the organizations who are able to be open to call the danger for the future, organizations who are data-driven, organizations that are investing in infrastructure and are future-proof, are some of the examples of the organizations which, in our opinion, are going to be are ready and have become digitally enabled. Let's take some global examples. Pfizer. Why was Pfizer able to produce something so quickly in this pandemic and bring the vaccine out quicker than anyone else? Because if you look at Pfizer, they've been investing in a digitally enabled organization. They've been investing in data. They've been investing in data analytics. And that's what has been very, very important for this organization. Now, how does your organization become digitally enabled? And I will not, I don't want to go into a long, there are only three things in this, three areas. Second question. Your business has to be aligned with technology. Technology has to have a seat on the table. So the digital technology transformation can happen, not just the digital business transformation. Very important. Second thing, organization has to invest in talent. Talent makes it happen. I can talk about transformation for the whole day, but if there are no people to drive it, how is it going to happen? How is the technology going to transform? And thirdly, again, organization needs to pivot and call the burning platform. If you're not able to do that, forget about being digitally enabled. Third question. Let's ask some things in our mind which can prove, are we a digitally enabled organization? First question I ask everybody, is your email on cloud? Very basic question. And if it's not, then do ask a question to yourself. Are you using cloud technology? I'm talking about digital technology transformation. Are you using cloud widely in your organization? And if you're not, then you're not ready to become a digitally enabled organization. Are you putting enough budgets, enough infrastructure budgets in your daily meetings? And are you talking about that? And if you're not, then you're not a digitally enabled organization. And are you automating on a regular basis? Are your employees asking for hybrid? If they're doing all of those things, then you have basics for digitally enabled organizations. So do look at that. Just start from some basics. Is your email on cloud? And if the answer is yes, take. Are you using cloud everywhere that you use? Because cloud is cheaper, faster, secure. I know banks have some regulations. I got that, and how we want to do that. Are your employees asking for hybrid? Are you automating in manufacturing? Are you putting IoTs? Are you putting sensors? Are you investing in infrastructure? And if you're not doing all of this, then it's just a talk. And if you're not investing in talent, let's keep talking for another few years. And then finally, I talked about all the benefits that are going to be there. I think the two key benefits that I want to talk about: a better customer experience, a better customer insight. That's one huge example. More revenues, more retention, less iteration, more reach. Every industry needs it. Some industries don't. Most of the industries do. Better employee experience. That's the second big advantage. And I think if you're able to do that, get a better customer insight, better employee experience, we've done a lot which is not happening today. So the digitally enabled organizations are not just the Elon Musk's organizations. These are organizations which are able to pivot. These are organizations which are able to use the man and machine concept. These are organizations that are able to create a burning platform and then invest. And they are from every industry that we've got out there. I want to conclude by a few things. It's a tough ask in the current environment within Pakistan to ask everybody to become a digitally enabled organization. There are stages of it. If you haven't started the journey, start the journey. Most of you have. If you've started the journey, take it to the next level. If you are already scaled, then mature into that. But use that in everyday life. Because you're using it personally. You're doing most of your business from the mobile today. Why can't your organization be digitally enabled? And then invest in talent. If we have more digitally enabled organizations in Pakistan, we will have more talent that is ready to be exported, ready to be done work even outside Pakistan. I come from an industry which is focused on technology exports. Systems is the largest technology export organization. We're growing technology exports 40–50%. But just a fact, India's technology export is far more in number than Saudi Arabia's oil export. So yes, we can export a lot of things, but this learning and talent that you will invest can help us grow our exports exponential. Invest in infrastructure, invest in talent, start from somewhere. That's my advice. Industry 5.0 is here, 4.0 and 5.0 will continue, 6.0 will come in 10 years, and we'll continue this journey. And we can't hide as a country anymore. Glass half full, stay positive. Thank you very much. I'm here. I don't know how much time we've got, but I can answer any questions. No? All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Asif Saab. I love the fact that you used the word pivot instead of transformation, because yesterday and all over, whenever we talk about the future, there is a lot of emphasis on transforming. And it kind of brings to mind what my coach always talks about. To the naked eye, we assume, and to the simplified mind, we assume that when a rocket is launched, there is a straight line of navigation that takes it to the moon or to the outer space. When the reality is, there is a system called the inertial navigation system, the INS, which is something that I picked up from your conversation as well. How it works is that the rocket is using accelerometers and gyroscopes to calculate the rocket's actual position. And how it does that is, it is relative to the launch pad, looking at its speed and how much distance it has covered. It's simply put, I have traveled X at speed N, so I must be at position Y. And that's exactly what we as individuals, as leaders, and our organizations also need to do. Sort of navigate our way through, and that's the only way to sort of understand what the future holds. Because other than that, we've realized small-term plans, medium-term plans, they all kind of fall flat. So thank you very much for giving us the pivot again. And the Friends fan in me is very happy because we are reminded of how Ross continues to tell us to pivot, pivot, pivot if you want to take that heavy couch up. Ladies and gentlemen, before we wrap up this sixth session, may I request Air Chief Marshal Suhail Aman Saab and Rabia Ahmed Saiba from the Nutshell Group to please come up on stage and present a book, which is a token of our appreciation to Asif Saab for a brilliant presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Asif Akram, the Chief Operating Officer of Systems Limited. This is a brilliant coffee table book that is titled as Echoes from the Past. Rather poetic, as we are presenting it at the Future Summit. Thank you, Asif Saab. Thank you, Suhail Saab and Rabia for being here.